supply chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm here with you for Thoughts and Coffee, and this is going to be an exciting episode. We've got Anna from PepsiCo Labs who is here, and we're going to be talking all about what they are doing and how you can get involved and so much more. But first, we do need to give a shout out to our show sponsor, the Secret Society of Supply Chain. If you haven't been over to the website, secretsocietyofsupplychain.com, head over there. We've got some free membership groups. We've got memberships for women in supply chain as well. And I want to give a shout out because we've got some of our newest members for the Secret Society of Supply Chain. We've got Catherine Gorman, Vinod Kumar Senkar, and Megan Hansen. And then we've got our new Woman in Supply Chain Connection members as well, Kathleen Drummond, Stephanie Sharp, Emily Nichols. Thank you so much for joining us over there, and we can't wait to see you in our community. If you are watching, please let us know where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to feature you or give you a shout out on the show, and we love the participation. So if you love the conversation, we also want to see some fire emojis throughout the show today. Now, let's get started with what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain, because I've got some really cool announcements. We've got tons of live shows that are happening right now. So let's start with the podcast. We've got a brand new episode. We actually have 2 episodes a week that are coming at you, I think, starting about right now. So episode 474, leveraging data-driven optimization to mitigate tariffs with Reveal. Now, I did this one in person at Home Delivery World, and it was great. They brought a customer on the show, and we talked all about how they are leveraging Reveal to mitigate some of the risk, including tariffs. If you haven't gone to check this one out, go and check it out. It is wherever you listen to the show, Spotify, Apple. It's also over on our YouTube channel. Next, we've got episode 475, and this one is leveraging real-time transportation visibility with Shipio. Chris joined me on the show, and we really got into what visibility actually means and why they are thinking about it differently and how they can help you optimize your supply chain. So again, go and check that out wherever you listen to the show. Next, we've got a bunch of live events that are happening this week, and we want you to be a part of it. So remember, you can click the link in the comments, click the attend button. We'll send you the link even if you cannot attend live. So tomorrow, we've got On the Margins with Coupa. We filmed this live at Coupa Inspire just about a month ago in Vegas with Ryan, and he shares some pretty great nuggets, some really good insights about harnessing the potential of Gen AI in procurement. So highly recommend you check that out. That's happening live tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we're going live at 1 p.m. Eastern with CargoWise, talking about the $35 billion cargo theft crisis. Now, this is a big deal. I've been talking a lot about this on the show with people at events, and it is top of mind for supply chain professionals and leaders. So if you have not clicked the attend button, go and click the attend button now. Come and join us or join us afterwards and watch the replay. All right. Last but not least, Eric Johnson is going live at 10 a.m. Eastern on Friday for TPM Today. He is talking about, is your fleet ready for the next wave of automation and forecasting? And you're not going to want to miss that one. Eric always has a great show, so go check that out. Then, I don't know if you guys saw this, but we have started putting out some breaking news segments. It's called Let's Talk Supply Chain News. We put our first one out over the last week or so, and we're talking about all of the tariff chaos. I know, the big T word, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to hear about it, but we do need to talk about it. So go and check that out. The replay is in the comments. We're going to have another one coming out in the next week or so, and we're going to be doing these breaking news segments about once a month. If you want to participate, let us know, because we are building our contributor list and you can be part of that segment. Last but not least, I have a huge announcement. So we are going to be at IANA Expo in Long Beach in September. Now we're going to be recording podcasts on site. So if you're exhibiting, reach out to us because we can do a podcast episode in your booth. But we are also doing we are hosting the first ever pickleball slam at IANA Expo on September 15th. We've got sponsorship opportunities, although they are going very, very quickly. But we're also going to put the link in the comments so that you can sign up as an individual, as a team, and come and play pickleball. We're going to be doing it all afternoon on September 15th, and it's going to be a great time because I don't know if you know this, but more business is being done on the pickleball court than it is being done on the golf course. So I know that was a lot, but thank you so much for bearing with us, getting through this. Click all the links in the comments. We want to see you there. And now it's time to bring up our guest for today. Anna, welcome to the show.
Hi. Hey, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
How are you? I mean, it's been a while. The last time we saw each other was at Manifest, and we recorded a podcast episode together with OneRail, and that was great.
It was great. And I feel like I've been on the road since. It's been 5 months since, and I'm recording this from a hotel room. I was trying to set up like decent lighting and connection before. Yeah. So it's been crazy.
Well, you look great. And I think you're not alone. I feel like I've been on the road forever. I think there's a lot of people that are in the audience that feel like they've been on the the road forever. I think everybody tried to like squish everything into May. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But anyways, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, tell us who you are, what you do, and a little bit about PepsiCo Labs.
Thank you. Yes. So Anna Farberov, and I lead the tech venture and innovation at PepsiCo, which essentially means that I take PepsiCo's global massive supply chain and connect it with breakthrough technologies and solutions to solve some of our core problems and fast. So imagine doing all of this fast. We launch a lot of pilots, we scale a lot of successful solutions, we go country by country, problem by problem. But I think essentially, at least for me, it's all about people. Right? We're not doing technology for the sake of technology. It's all about listening closely, identifying real problems. It's about moving quickly, building a culture that allows that transformation. It's about helping the people at the end of the line or the front line, or the people that will putting the technology in people's hands versus just chasing shiny toys.
It's so true. I actually talk about this all the time as like digital transformation is only 20% technology. It's 80% change management, people. And I feel like I talk about this so much, I might be a little bit of a broken record, but I feel like also we need to hear it that many times for it to sink in and for us to go, oh, wait a second. That's right. I remember that. And yes, we do need to make digital transformation about the people.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It starts with people, it goes through people using it, and then the outcome will come from people. At the end, you want a business-driven KPI. You need people to be able to drive that change.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And we're going to be talking about pilot purgatory in a minute because we have one of our articles that we're going to be talking about today is around digital transformation, pilot purgatory, which I think up until this morning, I'm not sure I heard that term before. So I'm excited to get into that because I hate to think that companies and people are sort of in that loop. But we definitely have some key insights to get people out of that, which I'm excited to share in just a little bit. All right, let's get to our poll of the week. So we ask everybody a question every single Wednesday morning on our Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page, and we love to hear from the community. And for this one, we got 291 votes. There is one day left. So if you have not participated in this poll, head over there and make sure that your voice is heard because we want to hear from you. But 291 votes, I mean, that's one of our best polls in quite a while, and it's great to see the participation. Now, the question was, when redesigning a supply chain, which factor should be priority number one? 32% of you said sustainability, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but I'm going to tell you that shocked me. 26% of you said cost, 24% of you said delivery time, and 18% of you said supplier diversification. Anna, when you saw this poll, when you saw the results of the poll, what did you think? What were your thoughts on this?
So I love this question. And I think I couldn't choose. I think or we think of supply chain as trade-offs, right? It's cost versus speed versus sustainability. But in reality, it's about resilience. And then resilience is a multiplier of everything. And if you can't adapt quickly, if just one of them breaks, the whole model breaks. So it's really hard to choose. It's about how it all plays together. I mean, think of it as an orchestra, right? If one is out of tune, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And the reason why sustainability, surprised me a little bit. Not that I don't want sustainability to sort of be the number one priority, but I have been having conversations around sustainability. And they haven't been like sustainability has not been necessarily the priority for a lot of organizations. A lot of leaders, a lot of professionals want it to be a priority, but they're having a hard time with leadership to convince them that sustainability needs to be a number one priority. And so I am very happy. So when I say that I'm shocked, I'm happily shocked that sustainability is sort of number one on this list. And I want to just give a shout out to everybody who weighed in. Daniel says, tough decision. I chose supplier diversification mainly because multiple suppliers provide options, and that includes costs and sustainability goals. Charlie says, hard to choose just one. I'm a reliability guy myself. Tom says, none of the above or all of the above. All right. So he's kind of with you on that one, Anna. And Sudeshna says it's all of the above. And Daniel says cost first above everything. Well, thank you so much to everybody who weighed in on the question of the week. We've got Halia in the audience that says sustainability can include cost. Okay. So some of the options that we gave everybody for the poll are sort of intertwined. And I'm guessing that's why most people chose to put in a comment and say all of the above, just like Anna just said. I want to give a shout out to Susan over on my personal LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so now we're going to get to the part of the show where we give a little bit of a market update. And I think this is so interesting, Anna. You said that you've been traveling nonstop. So you've been talking to a lot of leaders. You've been talking to a lot of professionals. And I'd like to know, like, what is top of mind? What's everybody talking about? What kind of conversations are you having?
Well, I think if I had to choose one thing that keeps coming back or coming up is the fast pace of tech. I think we're used to in the last, 20 years, we're used to technology evolving, but what we see in the last 2 years is even faster than that. Who could have imagined? Not a surprise, Gen AI or agentic AI or any type of, choose your platform keeps coming up, which is incredible because I think we see the impact in our day-to-day. I don't know how many subscriptions you have, but I use every tool on the planet, basically. So we see the impact on our lives. And I think now the big challenge or the conversations I've been having with people in the industry is how do you bring that into large organizations? Mm-hmm. How do you tie that back into an actual need and a problem, not just a fun capability. So not just something that makes my agenda faster or my day-to-day easier, but something that drives real transformation and change. And then how do you embed that in a very large organization?
Yeah. And you think leaders are a little bit nervous just because things are changing so quickly? Like, I almost wonder, we look at a new technology and sometimes if that company is not necessarily pivoting fast enough, then we're not pivoting fast enough. If we kind of have to choose the right partner, but it's got to be overwhelming considering some of the options that are out there.
I think I think we all understand we have to pivot fast because you will be left behind and we all see it. I think, but it's really hard because we're almost building the plane in the air. So you need to do it in a safe way. So build kind of the regulation and the strategy while you're trying to evolve and while you're trying to test those tools. And there's nobody around you that can be an inspiration. We're all in it at the same time.
We're all breaking glass ceilings together. But it's interesting that you talk about subscriptions. So I'm going through this right now because I did not realize how many subscriptions we had as a team. And when you have to change something like an address or the credit card number that you're using or an expiration date or something like that, that's when it all comes to light. And it's a little bit crazy how a small business like mine, how many subscriptions we have and that we're using and that we have to update and change with one thing. Crazy.
I agree. I think in PepsiCo, we've allowed access to multiple. So we have at least 2 subscriptions fully embedded in our work tools that are available for all of our employees. And that's 300 1,000 plus employees. And then for specific roles or specific capabilities, we use additional ones.
Yeah. Well, and when it comes to digital transformation, I mean, you guys know, because you just said a team of 300,000 people. How do we get that many people involved in a digital transformation? I can't wait to get into that. We'll get into that in a little bit. But first, let's get into our first article. Now, you may have seen my video a couple of weeks ago, which I'll share in just a minute, about digital product passports. And it's not something that we're hearing too much about, but I wanted to bring it to light because I think that this could be a game changer, not only for retailers, but also for supply chain in general. So we're going to put the link to the video and I'll just show that real quick. So I did this video about digital product passports. We'll put the link in the comments so you can go and check that out because I do give a couple of more examples of how we can use it in supply chain and logistics. This particular article talks about how we can use it a little bit more in retail. But one of the reasons why it's being talked about right now is because the EU has a regulation, mandatory 2030, that garments and accessories must have a QR code with detailed info of where it was made and where it has been. A couple of reasons of why this is going to be helping is it's going to help fight fakes. So the high-end, retailers that have been fighting fakes for years thinks that this is going to help fight that with them. But it's also going to help with resale and make recycling easier. When you read this article, Anna, what did you think about this?
I think this is a great opportunity to further kind of build brand awareness and connect with consumers. So I'm on the supply chain side. By no means I am a consumer expert, but in the world of, consumer products, it's all about how the product makes you feel, how you associate with the product. It's about the story. Mm-hmm. You buy a specific brand, especially if it's a premium brand, because of the story. Yeah. And this is another way to have direct communication with a consumer that is looking for it. Because if you're scanning the barcode, you want to know what stands behind it. So I think it's not about just providing, the regulatory requirements. It's about how do you bring to life your brand story through that, through the traceability mandate.
Yeah, well, and it was interesting to me because they mentioned blockchain in this article. And, I'm not entirely sure where we are with blockchain. I don't even know if you want to comment on that, but they do talk about storytelling, community building, and then blockchain-driven royalties. And what they mean by that is they're able to drive more authentication, I think, through the digital product passport, which goes back to sort of fighting those fakes. But for supply chain professionals, digital product passports can be a game changer. It's not science fiction. These things are kind of happening. But if you're a manufacturer, you can provide proof that the shoes were made sustainably. If you're in logistics, these digital product passports can give you better data. It can help with sustainability claims, right? So that we eliminate some of that greenwashing that's out there and what is happening. And it's talking about how we can use digital product passports instead of just in time, but also just what's needed. So not even just in case, we can use them to figure out inventory levels as well. So lots of different use cases for these digital product passports. And I'm excited to see how they sort of play a role in logistics, supply chain, technology, retail. I think it could be a bit of a game changer. Yeah. And I think it's also going to provide a little bit of shared language too.
Yeah.
Right? Across the board in how we talk about products, we talk about sustainability and so much more.
Yeah. And it will allow to stack the wins. I think if you're already making investments in creating that, which is complex. Yeah. And it's a term we use a lot. So you're making one investment, but usually you need multiple use cases to bring back the return on that investment. So if you're already tracing what, like you mentioned, like how can that take that data into my inventory planning, into my demand planning, into my to operationalize or optimize my entire supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you're loving the conversation, I want to see some fire emojis. We got quite a few last week. I want to see some this week because I know that you're learning a lot from Anna today. All right, let's get to our second article. So how PepsiCo avoids pilot purgatory. Now, this is what I was talking about at the beginning. I love the term pilot purgatory because we always talk about testing. You got to test. You have to have a testing environment to be able to test different technologies and see which partners are the best for you and all that kind of stuff. But what we don't want is we don't want to be in pilot purgatory. So talk to me about this particular article. Two things stood out for me. One, you said key priority for leaders is digital transformation, but 75 to 85% of all digital products or projects are stuck in the pilot stage. So talk to me about this article. There's a lot of great information in here. And talk to me about it.
Yeah, so it's an article I love. I absolutely love. I think if you've ever been a founder or worked with a VC or even worked in anything in innovation, then you know the term death by pilot or pilot valley of death, or
Right.
different variations of the same thing, because I think it is it's easy to be distracted by shiny toys. It's easier to prove something at a small scale, but then taking that to a much larger scale is the complicated part. So how do you have that in mind when you go and test something versus, oh, let me try out another cool toy, right?
Mm-hmm.
To our generative AI example, how do I take something from a daily use that one person can use to something that is at the fingertips of 300,000 associates?
Right. It's so crazy. And this particular article also talks about an example. I think it's called augury. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it talks about one of the examples and one of the strategic partnerships that was, and you've had a ton of successful partnerships. This is only one of them. And it shares an example of how you've partnered with them and what that looked like. And then it also shares lessons learned. Can we talk a little bit about those lessons learned? What does that mean? What should leaders, supply chain professionals, technology teams be focused on so that they can get out of pilot purgatory?
I think it is mostly stop, think, and be intentional. Mm-hmm. Start with the problem. Start with how people will use it eventually. And then just try to build the pilot in between the two. Right? So start with, what is the business impact that I am looking to make? I am not trying to do, I'm not monitoring my equipment for the sake of monitoring. I don't want to collect data for the sake of collecting data. I want to impact something that is happening. I want to identify a problem and then solve it. So that is probably number one. And then when you go into the pilot, have that in mind. This is the KPI you're measuring. You might have a list of 100 others. Most of them are a distraction. But you need to be very clear on how you translate that into impact and value that you can measure, you can monetize, you can count in dollars or in water consumption reduction. So it doesn't matter if it's a sustainability driven one or operations or growth, but it has to be something that you can quantify.
That's so interesting, right? Because a lot of times we think that we need a piece of technology or a platform or a subscription even that's going to solve for everything that we need. And that's not necessarily always possible, right? And so that one sort of truth to success, like what is that success metric that if we hit that, that means that it's a success and we can take it to the next step, right?
Exactly. So with augury, with that example, it was very clear. We were looking to reduce unplanned downtime, which is something that we measure. So TE, which is a standard term in operations. We were looking to reduce that. So how can you do that? And then you do a root cause of what are the different approaches. And there's multiple ways to approach a problem. You select the one that looks good or the most viable to you, given your infrastructure, given your resources, etc. And then you just go and test that quickly, fail quickly. But what you need to be very clear on what does success look like for you and the startup.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you need to communicate that. Like you don't want to be on two different pages as what that looks like. And then you go down, you spend all this time, money, and energy and resources going down one path when really it should have been the other path because that was the measurement of success. Now, I want to give a shout out to Paloma over on my personal LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us. And Michael, thanks for joining us as well. He also gave us a fire emoji. We've had a couple today. But I do want to say, go and check out the article in the comments. And here's the reason why. We talk about lessons learned, and you went through some of those, Anna. Number 1, be focused. 2, pick the right partner. 3, define stakeholders. 4, start smart with scalability in mind. I think that's something that when I read the article, I was like, that is definitely needs to be in the top 5. And number 5 is review period, but also make sure that you're open to pivot, because I think a lot of people think we've made this decision, we need to go down this road, I need to stick all my stakes into it because this is what I've done. But at the end of the day, if it's not going to work, you want to pivot quickly, you want to fail fast.
Yes, exactly. And it sounds like when you were listing them one by one, I was thinking, it's how do you take the best of the startup world and the best out of a big company world, right? So big companies need to think of scale in mind all the time. You can't just think of it as an isolated incident, while startups need to pivot and move very fast, which is my day-to-day. I am the bridge. That's what I do and what I love doing. But I'm also aware that those are two very different languages. Think of timelines, right? When the startup says, oh, let's move fast, it means it'll be ready in an hour. When a corporate says, let's move fast, it means we'll get a next connect in a month when everybody's calendar is available. So it's a small anecdote, but it's also like, how do you bring the best of both mindsets into a conversation? Because that's how you make it work. You need to be a bit scrappy. You need to be ready to fail and pivot fast, which big companies not always do well. But you need to think of scale in mind, which is what we do best.
I love that. Let's get a meeting together a month or 2 from now when our schedules clear up.
You look in the Outlook. When's the next available time? Usually it's, 3, 4, 5 weeks.
I know. It's crazy. And everybody's just in meetings, right? And then they're working on the weekends to try to catch up. Anyways, we don't want that for anybody. All right, let's get to our last one. So this isn't really an article, but basically we wanted to make sure you knew about PepsiCo Labs. And I think a lot of you have questions around how you can get involved and how you can be seen by potentially Anna and her team. So Anna, talk to us a little bit about how startups can potentially get involved with PepsiCo Labs, what that looks like. So give us as much as you can.
So I think the website is a good starting point just to better understand what we're doing. Honestly, looking at it, I know it's not updated because we are so busy with launching, 100 plus pilots a year. So we should do a better job in keeping our website up to date. But I think start with a website, then follow us on LinkedIn, because I think this is where you would get the latest. And with the same mindset of problem first, we put out there a lot of our problems. Every time we look for solutions, we provide as much information as possible. And if you go into some of our kind of older scouting efforts and programs, you'll see how much detail is actually there. It's an amazing opportunity to have an insight into what the industry is looking for. So it's not about you won't see me saying, I am looking for a cool technology for trucks. It will be very detailed, and you'll be able to get a glance of what we're looking for, how that will integrate with the rest of our tech ecosystem and strategy. What does success look like? We put the measures right there. So it's and usually it's like a 40-page deck. I think we're also fairly accessible. So I'm traveling a lot. I go to conferences. Just reach out, talk to me. I would say no more than I say yes. And I think that goes to the rest of my team as well. But that also means that we will not distract you and waste your time. That is the last thing that we want. So I'm always happy to give advice, always happy to kind of to share an opinion on either LinkedIn or in person. And I think hearing, no actually means that, it might not be the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of reasons for no. It might not be the right time. That might not be something that you're focused on right now. And the product might not be ready.
Yes. And I will usually say why no. So it's not just a no. It will be like, no, but this is how it can turn into yes. Or this is when this is how mature you need to be. This is when the right time might come, right? So I always try to help, but I think we are always, or at least I try to avoid giving mixed signals and wasting time, because I know how valuable entrepreneur time is, right? Yeah. Founders, they live on the clock.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Anna, I think what you and your team are doing is amazing. I just want to appreciate you for coming on the show, your team for helping to make this happen, and for you to be so upfront and be able to give us the information as entrepreneurs, especially in this space around technology. There's so many people coming out with great ideas, and there's so much that we can do, but only so much time as well. And so you're making a huge impact in technology. I love seeing what PepsiCo and PepsiCo Labs are doing around innovation. I appreciate you for coming on and sharing that with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. We need to figure out when we are in the same place next time.
Yes, we're going to do this again. Thanks so much to everybody who watched the show. Stay tuned. Next week, I've got John joining me from Street Leaf, and we're going to be talking all about solar and investment and technology and all sorts of different things. So I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.